Hello, everybody. I was just having tea with tonight's guest. Such a lovely woman. I met her 2 weeks ago at Dead of Winter Film Festival up in Massachusetts, in Warsaw. Warsaw. She'll help me with that. So tonight's guest, hi everyone. How are you doing? She is a horror-loving gem, and I can't wait to chat with Annabelle Lecter. She co-hosts Without Your Head. It's the longest running horror podcast out there, like 18 years or something. She's also an artist who makes some seriously strange, cool stuff and stars in indie horror flicks like Arbor Day. From creepy creations to chatting with icons and indie filmmakers, she's all about the weird and wonderful. Welcome to the show, Annabelle Lecter. Woohoo!
Thank you so much for having me.
It is absolutely my pleasure. You know when you meet someone and you just go, ah.
Yes.
So, Annabelle, how did your fascination with horror and grotesque pick up? Any creepy childhood tales in there?
Wow. Overactive imagination.
Ah.
Definitely. It's funny because my origin story, I know a lot of people who like horror, their families, which is so interesting to me. They're like, let's throw you Neil, for example, my co-host Neil. His mom was like, you just watch horror movies when you're a toddler. That was not there for me. I was definitely strange amongst my very, very normal family. So how did I get into it? I think just being super imaginative, being that kid that was kind of like on my own a lot. And you just find things, like you playful nature and being a person naturally drawn to art and storytelling. And horror is a very particular kind of storytelling in different ways depending on the horror. And it just fits.
What's the wildest thing about going from psychology at Massachusetts University to horror podcast queen?
Oh, geez. I mean, they're not that different. There's a lot of interviewing on the show. It's all interviewing, right?
Uh-huh.
My start when I got into undergrad degree, I worked at adolescent residentials. It's a pretty rough crowd. Those kids are like struggling, you know. So that was a really good experience to know how to talk in particular environments where maybe the conversation's tough or you need to kind of be quick. And then that didn't really give me enough money with an undergraduate degree. So my job has changed. I ended up being a tattoo artist for a while. And that was another thing. You have to be personable. You have to be able to talk with people. And it's always about them. You know, if I'm there with a tattoo customer, it's not, oh, let me tell you about my life. It's that ends up becoming a therapy job. The jobs I've had, I'm always that person that people go to, and it's just natural. And I was very fortunate to be able to get my master's, and so it kind of just blends. As far as the podcasting, I mean, that's what we do, right? We're asking people, we're giving space for other people to share their stories and learn their things and show interest in them so they can express things. Yeah, so it's just a natural fit. Everything has really gone together.
Yeah, it's perfect. But you call yourself a strange person. What's the strangest thing you've ever done that proves it?
Oh my God, that's a question. Jeez. The strangest thing, the list is too long. That's a tough call. My goodness, I feel like this is something I should have prepped for. Let me see. Strangest.
No, you don't. Meanwhile, Grace is saying Happy National Women's Month, and look at us women going. Grace has a podcast from the Library of Congress that she's been doing for 49 years.
Whoa, Grace, amazing.
She's so
cool.
Wow. Yeah.
Very cool. Strangest thing I've done. Let's see. Oh, it's so tough.
It can be in your art world. It can be in your
art world. Yeah, strangest things I've done some you were saying this when I was outside there. Some of the art I do is really nuts. It's very, very graphic at times. And that was actually how I got into the podcast and being in this world. Before the podcast, I loved horror movies, but I didn't have it in my life, right? I watched it and it was great, or I'd read. I didn't really have people around me that were into it.
Mm-hmm.
So making the art, long story short, I ended up making art. I needed a place where like-minded people could see it and not my real world people, because they were very judged. I mean, this is a thing that people go, oh, what does this say about a person if they're making art like this, or they're horror people? It's a very judged group of people. So I decided, you know what, I'm going to take this to a different place. Facebook was still like the basically one and only social media at the time.
Mm-hmm.
So I took my art, had a new me. I'm a new me. I'm going in and I'm going to do my thing. And at the time, the art was I was really getting into doing some portraits of different villains, a lot of exploration, honestly, with darkness and some sexuality and a lot of different things that people, the average person, let's say, is like, what are you doing? So strangest for some people, I'd say probably exploring those things is really uncomfortable for a lot of people. And that's part of horror, is that there is a discomfort element to it
Mm-hmm.
that can really get people thinking. Because people are complicated and there's darkness, and it can make people do a lot of thinking, and not everybody really wants to think about things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So
True that. True that. If you
yeah,
want to see some of her work, you can go to her Instagram page because there's
yes.
some of it in there and it's
Yeah.
beautiful. It's very well done. Is
Thank
this
you.
also your Instagram? No, your Instagram's something else.
Instagram's good, and also if you do Facebook, and I can get that link too, because I have a particular one that's for art. I'm spread very thin. I'm all over the place. There's stuff on the podcast. There's stuff on my site.
We'll
Try to
just
keep it
rattle it
all.
off. Eric will put it up for us.
Oh my goodness. Let's see. I think the Facebook it's facebook.com/ the Dear Annabelle Lecter one. So I try to keep that. Find me out and about. And I think the Facebook one for the art page is facebook.com/ Annabelle Lecter art. So I try to keep it basic.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
So how did you first link up with Nasty Neil and the Without Your Head crew back in what,
Oh my
2012?
goodness.
That's
Without
a
your
long
head crew
time.
then. It was a different world than it is now. So it was the art. It was making art. Here I am. I'm leaving all the judgments behind, and trying to get into this new land of strangeness and exploring. And I was doing these portraits, and Neil saw one. I tagged people. I didn't know Neil. He just came along and said, I interviewed that person. And okay. So I listened to the podcast and I listened to some other things, and we started to chat. And where our sense of humors, we like horror, okay, but we're like children. We joke around like junior high kids. We very, very naturally fit together, which is great, because a lot of times, I'm sure a lot of women do not make male friends that keep it, let's be friends. He's amazing. He's super respectful, incredible. We've shared hotel rooms the whole time, and very nice. So that's a really important part, is to be able to have that respect and know someone is there because they're enjoying you. They're enjoying your creativity. They're enjoying your mind. So that's been a really lovely experience to have that person. He's been so supportive of everything. He pulled me in it. He saw the art. At the time, it wasn't video. It was audio, way back in the day before StreamYard. And so there was going to be a person on the show. I started to listen to it live. And the guy's name is Kevin Van Hentenryck. And he is an actor. He is very, very kind of contained horror career, young. Did this movie called Basket Case. Basket Case is nuts. He is, so he's probably like 20, 21. and it's in the mean streets of New York City at the time in the 80s where it was kind of like grungy. And he had a twin brother who was like a growth. And it's just madness. It's crazy. It's funny. It's not scary. It's ridiculous. I love this movie. It's silly. It's something to laugh at, over the top. Neil knows I love this. We both love this movie. And he said, well, Kevin Van Henrich's going to be on. I'm like, no, pass. I didn't want to. He just harassed me so much that I said, fine, I will do it. But if I decide I'm done. And just go. I'm not going to be rude. I'll just step away and not be in that anymore. And so I was so scared. I don't feel like this is not what I'm comfortable with normally. Didn't do anything like that before. And I loved it. Yeah, just asking. I'm interested in people. That's why I do everything that I'm doing, really, is because I'm interested in people. So being able to ask questions about not just about that film that they're known for in the horror world, but more about them and where did this come from? What did your parents think? And things like that, that I think at that time, there wasn't as much of that. It was more of, what did you get to keep a prop from set and things like that, which is fine.
Which is cool too, yeah.
Yes, absolutely. And not that Neil didn't do any of those things, but I think I brought in a different thing.
Deeper level.
Yes, I think it was a very different.
And more fun.
It was different. I think it was maybe meatier than it had been. We had a great time and a lot of fun, but different. Yeah, and it's just been a blast. I've been able to do so much more. Never thought I would ever interview anybody. Never thought I'd go to a convention. Didn't really have a desire to get autographs or interview people. It just wasn't in me. And Neil just brought that stuff and said, that was what he did. And we started up doing movie reviews, and everything just rolled. So everything I'd kind of resist, like, I don't want to do it. And it would just keep going, and it got to be more and more and more.
What fun. Ryan Paul wants to know what's your favorite movie poster or box cover art?
Wow. So many things. There's so many things. Let me think. Favorite poster art. These questions, I need advance notice. I feel like I've got to bookmark these questions and come back
this way, because then we know it's real and coming from your heart and soul.
Oh my goodness. Favorite movie poster. I can say that I do love the 80s posters are so fun. It was a different world. Now there's, I don't want to be too harsh on like people who use Photoshop and even AI. I get that some people with low budgets, they can't afford an artist. So sometimes people will use that. Not my thing. You go back to even before the 90s, the 80s, people were doing paintings. There were beautiful things. There was such drama and intensity and high contrast and just over the topness. Like you can see, basically you walk into back in the day when there was Blockbuster and local places, you walk in and it would just be incredible, having all this. That was another thing as an artist, seeing all this intensity where the other sections were pretty boring. Horror was wow. It was vibrant. It was alive. It was scary. It was emotional. I can say that maybe not a horror one that I loved, but one that stands out, scared me, was Day of the Dead. It was just, for whatever reason, it was very intense. Zombies always terrified me. Zombies were like the thing that scared me. I have nightmares about zombies. So if I saw zombies and kind of got it in my mind, then that would.
Yeah. I'm not a fan of zombies either.
No, zombies. And then there's debates about fast zombies and are they zombies, and it's a whole.
So Ryan Paul, her favorite one is Toxic Avenger.
Favorite one, Toxic Avenger, hands down. I love it. Every iteration cannot be beat.
I have friends, Boris Vallejo and Julie Bell,
Oh,
who
yes,
do beautiful posters and book covers and
absolutely.
fantasy art, and they are amazing. And I actually have been modeling for them for decades.
Amazing. Everyone in this world knows Vallejo.
Ah,
I think you're hard pressed to be in my age range and not know who Vallejo is.
yes,
It's
they're
incredible.
fabulous, absolutely fabulous.
It's
So
amazing.
what has kept you hooked for over a decade on this co-hosting this world's longest running horror podcast?
Neil keeps yanking me back. There's been a couple times that, there was a point where there was a lot of stuff going on in my personal life, and I was just very overwhelmed and couldn't keep up with the show the way I wanted to, and I took a break. So there's been a couple times where I've had to take a break, but every time, I just enjoy being around him, and I love doing what we do. We have a lot of fun together, and the people we meet are like yourself. It's just
Fun,
wonderful. Yeah.
good
And
people.
learning a lot. There's so much to it.
And you learned a lot from going from audio to live stream video. Was that
Absolutely.
difficult or seamless, or was it weird to suddenly be on camera for you?
It was a shock because the last break I took was right around COVID. Prior to that, no one was really doing anything video. There wasn't that much of this because it wasn't like we didn't have to do telehealth or telemeetings or any of this stuff. So we'd be on whatever the platform was. I think we were using Skype at the time.
Right.
And talk, and it was easy. Yep. Could be in my pajamas. I could do anything. I'd just be
Wear
chill.
makeup.
So
You
yeah,
have
I
good
just be like
dress
chill,
code.
doing whatever, walk around. It didn't matter. As long
Right.
as I was present emotionally, mentally, then that was thing.
Perfect.
So it's been a huge transformation for me. Now I know some people like Neil, don't even have to necessarily shave on a regular basis.
But he's not a girl.
That's the thing. So it's a big change. There are things that I love about it because having the eye contact is excellent. I think there's so much that comes out, of seeing people's body language and being able to have those kinds of interactions. Joking is different. We can share things that we couldn't share before.
Mm-hmm.
So they both have their strengths. I should say that the audio, I don't know if it's a strength to not be seen so much as it's easier. It's easier to not be seen.
Yeah, but I think we're over that now. Besides,
Yes.
you're so beautiful. You need to be seen. We need to see those eyes.
Well, this takes time. That's the thing.
I know. So what's the craziest interview you've done with an icon or an indie filmmaker on the show?
Craziest interview that we've done.
Yeah.
Craziest one. Trying to think of a craziest one. I've had one that I don't know if it was super crazy.
You can tell about a couple.
What's that?
I said you can tell a couple.
We had someone who was in this movie that I wasn't going to bring up because it's really dark and a lot of people are not going to be impressed. And most people have heard of it.
Judgment, just go.
The Human Centipede. Have you heard of this movie?
I have heard of it, but I don't know much about it because I can't do those.
Don't do it. Not your jam. It's going to be, even horror people, a lot of them don't like it. And that's fine. But we have all kinds of people on, and Neil and I, we both enjoy the movie. And so we've had a lot of people on, and there's this guy, Dieter Laser, he plays the villain, Dr. Hyder, and he's just like his character. It's amazing how some people are very much like their characters. It's like, so it's whoever is, doing the like casting, how do they find these? How do they match these people up? And so he was just a very, very he's passed. He passed during COVID. He was older, German, had been a survivor of post-Nazism. His parents were Nazis. He didn't say it out loud, but he said they were from a cult. And he had effectively escaped and became an actor. So he's one of the most interesting, memorable ones. Hearing that story has been really, really incredible. He's very proud of being problematic. Not problematic in a mean way, like a saying rude things way, but dramatic, drama queen person. Had done one time, was going to do a live performance and kind of like bragged about having a problem with the director and just walking away on opening night. He was like proud. I'm like, sir, sir, no. But there's just so many. There's been so many amazing things. I feel like I definitely should have arrived with homework done.
No, you're fine. You got this awesome community vibe going on. How do you keep the chat buzzing every Thursday?
Just go. I mean, we have people on, and sometimes, a lot of times, people will come on and they might be a little bit hesitant. They'll be like, well, I maybe got 20 minutes or something. And that's fair, because people don't know what they're in for. And some people, they really only have so long to spend. And some people, they kind of want an out, right? Sometimes it's like that. And there's people that interview one way or the other. And it's kind of like, But I think we're just easygoing. We ask natural questions. We roll with whatever the interview is. We had Craig, who you recently interviewed on.
Yes.
We were just talking about stuff, and he was showing off like his collection of goofy toys, and I think we are good at meeting people where they're at and working with what their strengths are and what they're bringing into the space. And it just gets comfortable. We've had people stay on for very long periods of time, and they're just comfortable, which is lovely. And I think that's it. Just being that person who is just accepting and rolls with it and easygoing and interested in that interest.
And we had Craig on last week, and so you can go to the replay, share this out, guys. Hey, Jake, thanks for joining us. I think he saw Craig last week. He loved it.
Oh,
yeah. So this is Annabelle. She is so fabulous. She's going to tell us about the Severed Limbs Film Festival now. Like, what is it like hosting a free online horror fest?
This is an amazing thing that started during COVID, that Neil started. I do believe, was one of the first people to start an online film festival.
How smart.
It just came from that thing of wanting community, and here we were all unable to do the things and the challenges of just being in the entertainment world. It was depressing, people weren't able to do the shoots. There's so many things, right?
Right.
So there's also, the base fear of COVID and what's going to happen. And then all of the diminished capacity to be able to
give you a hug here.
Yeah, absolutely. And so we're so community oriented. He started this thing and just like, well, why don't we just do this? Brilliant. People don't have anywhere to show their stuff right now. Let's just do this. And it's grown little by little, where it was shorts and it was not a lot. And totally free for people to do it too. Free to go, free to submit. It's just about having that community and a space for people to connect and enjoy each other. And sometimes people will be in the chat, because there's always a little chat. It's always live, and there's a chat off to the side. So there are people who are just there to watch, and they're not professional in the field. But there'll be creators in there. So there'll be conversations, or creators meeting creators. And it's a really lovely thing to see that community build, not just between professionals, but also with the people in the audience. And it's just been great. It's been getting to the place where there has been a change to where you can't just submit anything at any length. It's gotta, let's keep it neat. So it's doing so well. It seems like more and more people are realizing it's there and really respecting that this is something that you don't have to pay for. Life's tough. Money's, not everybody's got it. And being able to have this at that time Not a lot of people have the opportunity or the money to go to a festival. As wonderful as they are, and I love the festivals, they cost money. And there's a lot of people that just can't access it. Either they can't pay to have their work entered, because you go, every single place you go is, you got to pay that fee. You got to pay that fee. There's no guarantees you're going to be in it. You just got to spend to be able to have a chance. You don't get it back if you're not chosen. And the same thing with people attending festivals. Like, I've attended festivals that you do have to pay, and it's per movie. You know, you might have a shorts block, pay, a movie, you pay, and it gets up there. So, and some people don't even have a place to go. We have a lot of people that they're in rural places. They're in areas that they just can't access it. So for people who financially, geographically, just having that out there for everybody to be able to enjoy, it's very meaningful.
And you never know who you're going to inspire.
Absolutely.
At Dead of Winter, so many people came up and were like, oh, we were so inspired by the movie and it was so great. And they start telling you everything and you're like, wow, I had no idea.
Yes. Horror people can be very, very attuned to detail.
Excellent. Yes. So fun.
Yeah. And it can be a real strength when people do have that. I think that there are people, they have that attention to detail and they really hang on to that information. There's strengths for everybody. So they bring that in, and that can be a real strength for what they choose to do. And it's very interesting. I'm always amazed by how much information a person can retain. So people being inspired, different kinds, the people through the Dead of Winter Festival, it's local people. James Lamont started it, and it's local New England people. Oh, it's Worcester, by the way.
Thank you.
Worcester. Yeah. It does not look like that at all.
I know. I drive right past it thinking
WRCESTER. Yeah, exactly. Massachusetts likes to mess with people's minds like that.
Oh, that was so fun.
James has been doing films for a long, long time. He started his own group. It came from the 508. He started doing around the COVID time, doing his own horror story podcast of short stories, and now this, and he just keeps growing. He's really wants to develop the New England horror community, and because there are so many creators, and we do not always get, like I was saying, not everybody has access. There's people that just don't, they're doing their best to just make the movie, let alone submit it to all the festivals everywhere. So trying to build strength so we can be together as a community and support each other and become seen, and also to have that, have the opportunity for people to be able to join. There's one woman, Colleen. Oh, I feel terrible. I can't remember her last name. Colleen's a lovely person. She just was out in social media, started being chatty with James, and then ended up becoming part of the filmmaking. It happens all the time.
You never know what's going to happen. Yeah.
Absolutely. I surely didn't think I would be doing this right now. That's for sure.
Look at you now. Superstar right here on the Cynthia Manion Show.
It's great. It's great.
You also have Neil and Annabelle's Dinner and a Movie. What's the weirdest film you reviewed over dinner?
Ooh, it's been a bit. It's been quite a bit. Let's see. One of the recent ones we did was...
Or a favorite one?
A favorite one?
Yeah.
Oh, we used to do crazy ones. I have to admit that when we were in our younger days, in our less wise days, we would drink a lot. And we brought that to the table. We were ridiculous. It was, I don't know if it was good or bad, but it was a lot of fun. But we've calmed. We're now older and wiser, and we still have a lot of fun. Hey, Jay.
Hey, Jay. Thanks for coming.
Yeah, a bunch of lovely people out there.
You can catch the beginning in the replays.
Yes.
Subscribe to my YouTube channel, s'il vous plaît.
Absolutely. So one of the ones we saw recently was, well, we saw the new Nosferatu movie and the Robert Eggers film, which has this huge hype about it. You know, it looks beautiful. Everybody's seeing it. So divisive in the horror community, where people really, really love it. It's so artistic and incredible, and the acting and all the things. And then there's people who see that Nosferatu has a mustache, and they decide, yeah, Neil's there. Thank you, Neil. And
thank you,
yeah,
Neil.
and they're like, no, Nosferatu doesn't have a mustache. It's so funny that there's such strong opinions. But that's how it is. I mean, it is a community. That's what we do. It's got a mustache. It's just, Neil knows because I harass him about it. And then you get into these like very silly, not
fun conversations. Yeah.
Yes. So
Fun,
but it was a good movie, in my opinion.
What in your art, something strange or some stranger than others, or the wildest piece you've ever made?
Oh my goodness. It's like NC-17. Strangest thing. But I do have one that I love. It's my favorite piece.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I have anything here of it.
It's not that little green thing from the
I don't think so. It's not green, so I'll say no.
Okay.
So it's
anti-mustache.
Team anti-mustache. So it is.
Do you have it?
Let me find it. Can I do that?
Sure. Yeah. I'll tell everyone to share this out, please. And put in your comments if you have any questions for Annabelle, or things you want to know about the horror community, or
if I've got
what your horror obsessions are.
I'm going to go off camera for a second. I'll be right back. It's literally right near me. We have to go off the camera. So
okay. We'll be right here, and then you can see her cute little picture there. So when you go to her Facebook, you know which one is her, because there was a couple Annabelles out there. When I was doing my research, it is so fun here, and she's back.
Boom. I am. Magic. So I don't know how well this is going to be picked up by the camera. So this is just my little card. But this is my favorite piece. It's not very complicated. It's very sketchy. You know, it's not fine detail. But it's just a really powerful piece to me. It was personally relevant, and I love the composition. I love how intense the colors are. That is something I really had feelings about. I've done a lot of portraits. I love my I'm not the artist that's like, oh, I suck and everything I do could be better. There are lots of things that I just really love. And I think that's, as an artist, that's okay. You can love what you do.
That's the whole point in doing it, is to have joy, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Joy and happiness, and do what your heart sings.
Yes.
Why not be doing what you want to do? You're spending your whole life doing it. Do something that you love.
Absolutely. And I know it's not always easy. Like, I didn't think I would ever do this. This was absolute luck, right? I had amazing, miraculous luck that Neil saw one painting in the moment. None of this would have happened otherwise. So yeah, I mean, trying to do what you love, important, and it's a lot of pressure. I think that there's a lot of pressure in society to achieve the dream. Achieving the dream is amazing, and that's very, very hard. So I feel like I don't want to say people's dreams are impossible at all. And also, cut yourself some slack. Like, if you don't make it to like the stars, it's okay. Do the things that are going to make your life just enjoyable, more peaceful, connect with people. In my therapy world, that's the thing I've come into. There's two big things for people that I think are the most challenging.
Yeah. What?
Isolation. No good. It's not good, not healthy. But a lot of people are too they have things that happen in life and they're just too afraid to go out and be with people. It's scary for a lot of different reasons.
But they can do it now, just like this.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, is that working through, it's hard. People have experiences that are really not great, and trying to get through that isolation is really important, because mental health, there's very, very few people who truly can be in a state of positive mental health with no one around them, or just unhealthy people around them. You can have people, but they have to be like okay people.
Yeah,
That's a really important
part. Yeah.
And the other thing is, this is a little maybe too deep. I don't know, maybe too.
No, it's great. Go.
Is this is so brutal, and it's brutal when I tell it to my clients and in my groups, is the idea of fairness. You want to have a tough time, then you think about fairness, because you're going to come up, I would guarantee, well, I won't guarantee, but I would say a lot of the things that people really most challenged with and struggle with is the idea of, well, that's not fair. And it might not be fair, right? There's things in life that are absolutely not fair, but if we get caught on it, that's what happens. We can know it's not fair. We can try to make it change. We can try to make it work. There's a lot of options we have to try to right or wrong or whatever it may be. But if we hang on to that, it's not fair, it's really, really hard to move forward and to have change, have real change. Because we can't always change things. And that's hard. That in itself isn't fair. There are many things that would be great if we could change, and sometimes we just can't.
Glenn has one for that. We go, that's old, that's new, goodbye, and you leave it in the dust and go forward. Really helps.
Yes.
That's old, that's new, goodbye.
That's great. It's wonderful because you have someone too that's there with you for that, right? Because that's part of it, is you've got people that are able to be there and support you and be part of your, not just cheerleading for yourself, which is important, and to have that around you is really so critical. Because no one wants to be in an echo chamber. That is a sad, depressing place, to just be there thinking your thoughts and feeling your things. But being able to get in that positive mindset, it takes like, we got to do something to get there. You got to start on that path. It's not easy for people who aren't there. It's not easy. But trying to have that space, because life is so much better. Yeah, taking a breath, trying to find your place, trying to find your people. And it happened with me. And I was depressed. I was thinking, I'm just going to be this weirdo who can't really be my true self, until I decided I'm getting the hell out of what I know and going in this other direction. Sometimes that's what it takes. Yeah. Sometimes and they were not, people in my life were not bad people, but we were different, right? And sometimes we're not a match for even lovely, awesome people. And we could still love them and have relationships with them. But if you really, really, really are struggling and feeling disconnected, there are communities. I didn't know this was here. No idea. And here it is. So if there's something that you really do enjoy, there are people out there who enjoy it. It's hard to take those steps to find it, and it's so rewarding when you do.
Go where you're celebrated, not where you're tolerated.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
How
does really far off?
No, you're not. You are right where you're supposed to be.
Appreciate it.
And right now you're here with me, and I want to know how your horror obsession snuck into the stuff you create as an artist. How did that weave in?
I started very early. I've been drawing since I was really and truly, since I could hold a crayon. That's not an exaggeration. That's a reality.
What's your favorite color?
Oh, wow. Probably like a tealish blue-ish. But then there's ruby. It's like all these bold colors. I like these very vivid, like I'd said about my piece of art, vivid, bold, dramatic, intense. And And so when I was a kid, I just started, and people would say, no drawing that. And I'd feel terrible and be like, okay, I guess I can't draw that. Or I'd draw it and then crumple it up and throw it away. It was really hard to be the odd kid. But I still did it because that was just in me. It was just in me to be strange and to think about
But it shouldn't be strange. It should just be okay to be you.
And now I am there today with people I'm okay with.
Yeah. Yeah. You've got the right tribe with the right vibe and
Absolutely.
full of love.
Yes.
Fun. You laugh. You live your life. You love.
100%. It's a bumpy out there sometimes, but you just got to look at life overall. You know.
You starred in Arbor Day. What was it like?
Oh, we're not there yet.
Podcast night, indie horror set.
We are on our way to Arbor Day. So anybody who wants to help out, Arbor Day is going to get its crowdfunding campaign going. Hopefully not even a month.
Oh, tell us more. Tell us more.
All right. So Arbor Day, this is something Neil and I talked about way back in the day. Because we had come up with these ridiculous ideas. And Neil had this idea about making a horror movie with trees, because there are all the holidays, and the holidays have many, many, many different horror movies about them. There is no movie about Arbor Day. So this is developed into this very, very silly, hilarious. He's doing an amazing job with this script. I truly, 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 anytime he goes through any of it with me, I laugh. Genuinely. And it's like an adventure story with the evil arbor trees, and I'm going to play like the villainess, who's like the cult member of the evil tree people and such. And it's just going to be fun. It was going to start off as a short, just a goofy short. And there's a lot of connections, and people have said, well, if you're going to make a short, you might as well make a movie. And it's been kind of scary here and there to think, well, how the hell are we going to even do this? Like, we don't have the stuff, but there's people out there who are just want to be a part of it. So we have a lot of people pulled in, whether they're actors or Michael Epstein is a filmmaker, and his wife, Sophia Cacciola, they're going to help us out. There's just that community piece. Where people are coming in, and no one's going to be breaking in huge amounts of money. It's something that's going to be done because we want to do it, because it's going to be fun, and we'll see where it goes from there. But it's just going to be a goofy, fun time.
You can tie it into so many things. You can have the whole world planting a tree, because we need more trees.
And there are good trees. It's not that all trees are evil. It's a particular demonic trees. And then there are the good trees, and there's going to be like a puppet and trees with eyes that are moving, and it's very, very, very goofy and a lot of fun. If people out there, if you like cheesy humor and horror movies, if you like Basket Case, it's not quite as dark as Basket Case, but it's going to be a lot of fun.
What's the creepiest inspiration you've ever had for a project or art or otherwise?
Oh dear. Let's see. Creepiest. Yeah. Some of it's so creepy. For a project, I guess I would love to do more writing and actually have like a book, like author a fiction.
So why don't you do it?
The full-time job, the podcast, the family, you know how it is. Like, and that's the thing where I'm like trying to think about, because I put a lot of pressure on myself, and I will get down on myself. Like, why am I not doing more? Why am I not doing more?
Don't do that.
Yeah. And that can be really poisonous to a person, of this needing to achieve and achieve and achieve. That's when I ended up leaving the show for a while. I had family thing going on, and I had it in me. I can't do the show if I'm not doing this and this and this and this. I felt like I'm not doing enough, and that burnt me out. Just that made it so that I couldn't function as a co-host or even as a part of Without Your Head. I had to step away. So being really mindful of what your limits are, and it's okay to have limits. It's okay to be gentle with yourself. We need to prioritize sometimes, and I want to be an author, and I have to have the balance. I cannot do it all. There's only so much time in the day. So trying to think about that and trying to appreciate the things I am doing, because maybe that won't happen. Maybe it won't. Maybe it will. And I have a lot of other amazing things that I'm really grateful for, and that's okay.
You do a lot of amazing things. Yes.
Well,
because you are amazing.
well, thank you. You were amazing as well.
I am amazing. You are amazing. We are amazing. Nature and narrative power your work. How do you mix that with the grotesque in your mind?
So, I think like this image, for example, thinking about this is a creature, and I think of the creature realm of nature. Nature is a strange place. Nature is a strange place, and if I'm going for a walk in the woods, there are stories happening all around me. I'm in it. I'm thinking. There's this cool gnome that could live in this hole. Oh, there's this like creature that could be there. Or here's a big scary tree. It could be a monster, and I don't know, it's not happening, but this is my imagination coming up with stories. It's just the stories and the ideas that get rolling. And nature is, I think, critical for what I enjoy in storytelling, is thinking about the natural elements that come into, everything that is around us, I think, as far as nature, is such great food to draw from for creation, like being out in the woods, right? Absolutely. So I could probably whip off a horror story about that orchid because it has life, right? And to me, life, you can build, you can do something about, killer cars, and that's fine. But life, I think, is so much more, it speaks to us as humans because that's what we come from. We're meant to be in nature, communicating with nature, so to speak. And I think that really draws on something that's in us. Even the idea of like, if I'm in the woods, if there's a cave, I'm probably going to be scared. I think it's very natural. And thinking about the challenges of being in nature, whether it's the woods, the desert, the ocean, sharks terrify me. I don't even have to be in the water. I think about a shark and I'm like, oh my God, scared. So having that nature influence narrative, and for me, it's just because that comes naturally. When I am around nature, I am inspired to create. Humans being included in nature. We're also creatures of the earth, animals. Werewolves. I was always loved drawing werewolves. Junior high was my werewolf time. That was when I made this big shift to drawing lots and lots of werewolves. And another thing it is the creature, and there's also what's behind that as far as that power personal narrative. What does a werewolf represent? Werewolf is something that it's different to different people, of course. But for me, I didn't like being the weird kid. And I was pretty angry about being treated in a way, right? And that happens, I think, to a lot of people who are coming from spaces where they're not really treated so great. Is there's so many different emotions that come with that. And having that kind of tuning into what it's to be a werewolf. A werewolf is raw. When someone is trying to mess with you, it's raw. And not like I plan on being a werewolf, but it's that inside thing. It's these really, really deep, instinctive, primal things that happen in people. And a werewolf taps into that. Monsters tap into those things. It comes down to the primal, what's going on in us as humans. Humans have dark things in them, and being able to get that out and express it and work through it is, I think, highly therapeutic. So I just rolled on. Did I answer a question?
It was beautiful, and you left me back in the ocean with Jaws, which I only saw one time because my son made me.
My goodness, it's scary. I can't watch it. It's an amazing film, but no.
You've
I
seen it
couldn't
all.
watch Bathtub Shark. There's an independent horror movie called Bathtub Shark. It's not even a year old, and I can't. That's my giant phobia from childhood. Is a shark is just going to materialize and eat me, and no one will find me again. And so, like these really ridiculous or imaginative things, which probably would also be a good story.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
look
No
forward to
bathtub
reading
shark.
it.
What's that?
So I look forward to reading it. Me who thinks she's a mermaid, and I don't think sharks like mermaids.
That was beautiful in your opening, and I saw you being like, wow.
I've had a lot of fun. I'm having a lot of fun with this. It's fabulous.
It's incredible. So
And I
you
love
also had
getting
quite
to
a life.
Oh, but of course, that's why
Mhm.
we're attracted to each other, because women that have interesting lives are interesting, and you wanna get to know them and see how, what, where.
Yeah,
It's so
absolutely.
fun. It's so fun to and bring your story out. And, You're Without a Head says, "Bathtub Shark Attack is a great movie. I stand by it."
I've been told as much, and
Yeah.
people are trying to convince
Next,
me
you've
again.
seen it all without your head. What's the weirdest trend in horror right now?
Oh, geez. You know, a lot of things people are getting more into horror. There's some films that have been in mainstream theater that never would have been there before. These really intense. There's a movie called Terrifier, not for everyone. It's very, very, very dark.
Okay.
Even horror people, a lot of horror people are not into it. And yet it went from I think it was like a one night special event showing different places to being in the theaters. It was in all the theaters. It was a mainstream release. Absolutely. And it came from like this small budget, and it just blew up. And there's a lot of things like that, because I think part of the thing with the fantasy of horror is it takes you out of this. If you're watching a horror movie, you're probably not thinking about, oh, the car, or oh, my bills. You're in it, and it might be you're like, but you're in it.
Exactly. That's
And
right. You are part of the movie.
absolutely. And it's different people are going to like horror. Maybe some people will, maybe some people won't. But horror, I think, is becoming especially big now because the world is a pretty crazy place. And there are a lot of people that are wanting to take a breath and go into like deep fantasy. And horror really is, it's deep fantasy, it's dark fantasy. So people being able to just put the brakes on to the world and say, I'm going to go to this place. It's not real. It's safe. It's scary, but it's safe. And I can be in the scary, safe place and have these feelings. It's this catharsis of being in that space and still feeling safe. You're going to leave the movie and it's done. Maybe you'll have a nightmare. Maybe you'll have thoughts about it, but there's no consequence other than maybe being disturbed by seeing the movie. There's very little consequence. There's not really anything to lose except your whatever money you spent seeing it. And it gets people away.
Certainly
People
takes you
want to get
out
away.
of your present. And
Yeah.
Ryan Paul says Art the Clown from Terrifier is kind of the contemporary Freddy Krueger.
Art the Clown has, because people have, I mean, Freddy Krueger, Jason, all these different, they've been in the movie, they've been around for now generations.
Mm-hmm.
Art is the new horror icon. He's going to be there unless something happens where they don't make more. I know they're only supposed to make one more movie, but there's this iconic element. The actor is incredible, David Howard Thornton. His expressiveness he doesn't talk. It's effectively a mime, a very dark, unkind, to put it lightly, mime. And I think it really is that the world is hard and people want to escape. And seeing this, it's not happening. All this stuff, it's maybe gory and awful, but it's not real. It's just the mental break. People take different kinds of mental breaks. Someone might go, maybe someone does both. I love going to nature, love it. And that's an escape. And also, I go to this place too. So I have all these different outs. My brain needs to take a break. Depending on what's going on, I might go to horror. I might go for a walk. I might go look at the moon and look at my little star map and say, oh, what are the things happening tonight?
Beautiful.
Yeah, it's nice.
Any other gems people should watch?
Gems people should watch. Terrifier is not a gem people should watch.
Okay.
I mean, there are people
lately we should go check out.
Yeah, let's see. Let's see. Well, Nosferatu is pretty excellent. Unless you don't like mustaches.
Oh.
Nosferatu. There's a movie that's out now that I'm really wanting to see called Monkey. Neil just saw it. He said it's amazing. Neil over there, he's got it. I feel terrible. I was not prepared.
Well, okay. If you could co-host with any horror legend, living or fictional,
please.
Who would it be and why?
It would have to be Lon Chaney. From the people who don't know by name, this is a person who really started horror as it is. He played the Hunchback. He played, he was in London After Midnight, which never got released. He's Phantom of the Opera. He was so many of these things. He did all of his own makeup. There was no thing like a makeup artist, like a Craig. That wasn't around. So he had his own box and he brought it and he went to these very intense extremes. You know, he'd have things that held up his nose and doing all this very uncomfortable stuff. He was a vaudeville actor. I just think to have had a conversation with him, to have him, it would just be incredible. The wealth of knowledge and making that transition from vaudeville to screen and taking in, you know, here's my literal toolbox of tricks that I got from that experience and bringing it in. I think it would just be an amazing conversation.
Amazing. Absolutely. We all want to be in on that one. So what is next for you? Any dream podcasts, guests with the living, art projects, horror flicks on the horizon besides the ones you've mentioned so far?
At this time, keeping in the present, in the moment, Arbor Day is where I'm at. I'm trying to hone in. I've got to get it together as far as having the crowdfunding going. It's going to be on Indiegogo. It takes a lot developing all of the tiers, and there's a lot. We've got so many different things we're offering, and just getting it together with that, you know, between balancing a very, very high pressure job, and everything with the podcast and just a personal life. Arbor Day. And I am trying to also bump up the amount of art I do. There is going to be a lot of art in Arbor Day. I am illustrating the Arbornomicon, which is a playoff of the Necronomicon. And that's been really fun. Really fun.
So maybe you should put out there what you need help with on that. Just in case anyone wants to drop what they're good at. It brings them it might tie in.
Absolutely. Yeah. We're trying to bring in people. We have, like I said, it's a community. You get that community, you get connected, and people like to work with you, then it keeps going. And people help out in other projects and just keep building each other up more and more.
So are you designing a horror movie monster from scratch for this? You know,
actually, Neil's brother, Troy, is finally retired. And he is an artist. He would love, Vallejo, that's his jam. And now that he's retired, he is doing all kinds of cool stuff. And I was like, you can have it. He's got a basement. He's got his things. He's retired. He's got the time. Enjoy, Troy. And it's really incredible to see the things he's working on and how rewarding it is for him to have the experience of being able to do this. So now he's living out what he's wanted to do. And from the circumstances he was in of just having the job and just a regular life, wasn't able to do it then. And now here it is. You just never know.
Fabulous.
I'm drawing and doing other creative parts. and I'm really excited about it. I might be doing some claymation, which is that would be the peak, is doing claymation for this film.
Tell people more about that.
So claymation, for people who aren't familiar with claymation or stop motion animation, well, some people remember California Raisins. People remember California Raisins. You got your little clay, you set it up, you do your thing. If it's not clay, whatever the material is, you've got your little dude. Okay, I've got this little guy here. So let's say you've made your little character and you want it to move. You got to bit by bit move it slowly and then have it come together. So it ends up being this ongoing thing, like all kinds of animations, taking these tiny, tiny little parts and having that patience to follow through and to work with what you've got. And it's going to be challenging. And I know when I see it, it's going to be, whoa. Even when I was a kid and I would just do little flip books in the corner of my textbooks, which
of course you did.
Fine. Yeah, it was fine. It was mostly stick people getting shot with arrows or being eaten by snakes and silly things like that. But that was rewarding. And because you'd see, wow, I went from little by little by little by little, and now it's alive, as they say. It's alive.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, isn't Annabelle Lecter fabulous? She is just amazing. Let's give it up for her. And join her on Facebook.com, Annabelle Lecter Artist, and see what else she's up to. Share this out and join us next Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And please subscribe to my YouTube channel, and we'll see you next time. And it's always a thrill to learn new things from new people and share. Thank you so much. Bye now. And thank you all of our guests who join us.